Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Forgive me if I'm a little bit more mad than usual today. It's not my fault, it's the watch's fault, because today I'm reviewing none other than Russell, aka the Mad Watch Collector's debut collaboration, the Mad Hacker. Russell teamed up with microbrand Radcliffe and spent a year working on making his version of the perfect mid-century field watch. These are priced at £299 Great British pounds and have been on sale for 2 weeks or so now. They're only taking pre-orders for another 2 weeks with delivery in June this year. So if you miss out, you miss out, and you're gonna have to try and find one used. I will of course leave a link to the listing on the Radcliffe website in the description of the video. But before I even show you the watch in more detail, I'd like to start this video with an apology to Russell. I was excited to see the Mad Hacker when it arrived, so I got it straight out of the box, I put it straight on my wrist, and I headed straight into the city for a shift at Sydney Opera House. Here you can see the Mad Hacker down under with the good old pointless point directing you to look at the famous landmarks. And I showed my boss the watch. He's a watch guy, and I said, look at this, it's a prototype, I shouldn't even be wearing it, it's still under embargo at the moment. And he said, can I have a feel of it? And I said, yeah, sure, just don't drop it. And I said it again, just don't drop it. He dropped it. So please forgive the big chip on one of the upper lugs today and the two chips opposite the crown. Your Mad Hacker will in fact come with drilled lugs, unlike this prototype, but it will not come pre-damaged. Sorry, Russell. Hey, at least I can tell you that the Mad Hacker can take a hit. It was dropped onto a granite floor from a height of approximately 1.25 meters, and there was no damage to the crystal or the movement, thankfully, so it's a tough wee thing. So what is the Mad Hacker? Well, you've already had a look at it. It's a very neat little mid-century field watch. The dial is actually based on a 1940s Omega reference, CK2179, that was supplied to the US military and also sold as a civilian watch. So Russell wanted to capture the look of the 1940s but with materials from the 2020s. Sapphire crystal, screw-down crown, high beat movement, etc, etc. Let's do dimensions before talking about Russell's choice of movement. It's still relatively compact at 36mm in diameter, thickness of 10.5 including the crystal. Lug tip to lug tip is 44mm, there's a gap of 18mm between the lugs, and as supplied on the NATO it weighs in at a mere 59 grams. The crown screws down, ensuring 100 meters of water resistance. The crystal is double dome sapphire, and the movement is a Miyota 9039. Now that is a no date version of the 9000 series, but Russell and Radcliffe have also removed the rotor. I think this is something we're going to see more often, people modifying automatic movements to turn them into manual wind movements. It also means they can be really slim on wrist because you're moving several mil by taking the rotor off, hence why this watch can still manage 10.5mm thickness despite the piece of box dome sapphire. 24 joule 40-hour power reserve. It obviously hacks, otherwise there would have been serious questions asked about the model name, and there's none of that irritating Miyota wobble and spin because it doesn't have a rotor. Plus you can never overwind the watch because it's based on an auto rather than having a manual movement. Case finish is super simple. Russell says it will look nicer on production units, and as discussed, production units won't be damaged. There is no need for anything too fancy though on this style of field watch. There's a circular brush to the upper lug surfaces and a circular brush to the integrated fixed bezel. One nice touch is that the crown has been etched with the words lock and a direction arrow to remind you which way you are screwing down the crown. This is a nod to one of Russell's favourite watches, the 6105 Captain Willard by Seiko, of course. Now it comes supplied on this 18mm double pass canvas NATO style strap. It's really nice, it is ribbed for extra pleasure, the stitching is great, all the hardware is brushed just like the watch head, and the spring bars are quick release, so you can swap it out for something else if you prefer, even though it's excellent. There is no branding on this one, check the website to see if they are going to brand production units. Dial and hands, well, the dial layout and numeral pattern owe a lot to that Omega reference, but Russell and Radcliffe have changed it up a little bit. They've gone for black with that slightly yellow Fotina printing, which looks super nice, very much suits the time period. It's labelled as a Mad Hacker with the C reversed for extra madness. The water resistance rating is printed beneath the pinion, just as WR100 again, a little bit different there. And it features a crisply printed train track minute marker in white rather than photinaed yellow. Now the hands are suitably simple, just syringe tip pencils with a needle second hand. Frankly, everything is just as you would expect on this style of watch. Russell acknowledges he's not reinventing the wheel with this one, but he just wanted to create something that reminds him of all the things that he loves about watches. And it wears really nicely as well. If you have a SEA-GULL 1963 in your collection, it wears quite similarly to that one, but even slimmer on wrist. Now I have a 7-inch wrist for your reference. 36mm is at the smaller end of my preferred range, but the double pass NATO does a good job of making it feel a little bit meatier than it otherwise would do. It's a nice piece of glass though as well. You can still get a clean read on the hands even from the edges of the viewing angle. And as I said, the NATO is a good one. But it is so simple to change for a leather strap or something else if you prefer. It's a really neat and discreet little watch. It doesn't draw attention to itself. That was rather the point of army timepieces. They were functional, not ostentatious or showy, and the Mad Hacker is just the same. All right, moans and niggles. Sorry Russell, I love you my friend, but nothing escapes the moans and niggles section. Not even my own watch escaped the moans and niggles section. First up is the most obvious one, a 1-year warranty. Russell, you knew I was going to complain about that, didn't you? Because I always complain about it when I see it. 2 years should be the standard. Frankly, 2 years is the standard. And I think this is the first time I've ever seen a manual wind watch with a screw down crown. It's a little bit counterintuitive. Every time you want to wind the watch, you have to unscrew the crown, wind the watch, and then screw the crown back in. That is bound to take its toll on the crown tube eventually. I wonder if they might have been better leaving it with a push-pull crown and changing the inscription to wind rather than lock. The sizing, though very much in keeping with the style, is going to put off those who prefer a larger size watch. And the lume, frankly, isn't very good. It's a printed dial, which never helps. It's C3 old radium style, which never helps, but it still isn't very good. If I turn the speed up on this one, it's all over pretty quickly. Maybe they'll be doing something about that for production units as well. And finally, it may be called the Mad Hacker by the Mad Watch Collector, but it's not very mad, is it? It's a very simply designed, classically styled mid-century retro field watch. I was expecting something in pink and purple with elephants on the case back, but this is definitely not that. Having said that though, I'm sure it will sell really well. It's a lovely little piece. I like what they did with the movement, and Russell clearly designed something here that he loves. It may be simple, it may be small, it may be basic, but that's exactly what it's supposed to be, because that's exactly what a mid-century field watch should be. Thanks for making it all the way to the back end of the video. If you don't fancy this mid-century field watch, why not check out these two instead? I'll see you again in the next one.